Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. On a quick side note before we start, in the description below is an actual link to the channel's Facebook page where you get to see some of my university work, the clock I'm working on, watches I've serviced and so forth. But also, if you have an interesting watch you'd like to see reviewed and you're in the Midlands area of the UK, you wouldn't mind meeting up, say, in Birmingham or surrounding area, get in touch. I'll leave my email address in the description below so you can always get in touch if you want to. Now, today, check this out. This is the Tissot PRX. And of course, we all know the PRX, but this one's a little bit special. This is the forged carbon model, and it just looks fantastic. Is it perfect? Not quite. Stay till the end of the video and I'll talk about some of the bits which I think could have been slightly better. But before we start into this review, I've got to say a massive thank you to the team over at First Class Watches of Kenilworth. They've got, just some really interesting brands in stock. It's well worth popping into their shop in Kenilworth. If you're a little bit further afield, well, don't worry, I'll leave a link in the description below and at the bottom of the page now. All I ask, if you do contact them, please mention the channel. So let's talk sizes. We are talking 40mm, not 40.5, which I'm reading everywhere. Thickness, a little bit thicker than the standard model, 11.5mm, and the lug to lug, 45mm. The strap size on this at the widest point is 27. At the lugs, it's 12mm. Now, the dial. The dial's interesting. Due to the fact that it's made of forged carbon, the look is unique to each model. So it's almost like a fingerprint, because lots of people are used to seeing carbon fiber in like a matted form, so you get to see the weave on there. While forged carbon is a different process. That's where they get all different chop strands from it, compress it, heat it, a bonding agent, and you end up with this kind of completely different look. So it's quite an interesting, kind of dial. They'll always be slightly different. Now on here we do have glossed hands, very glossy hands. There is loom on this. There is a tiny bit of loom on these applied hour markers, and to be fair, it's not the longest lasting at all, but it isn't the kind of reason you buy this watch. This is just a cool looking watch. Now, we do have a framed date window down here at 3 o'clock position, and we do have a PRX applied and the Tissot up there applied as well. Overall, I don't mind this because there's just this Powermatic 80 and the Swiss made on it. It's quite subdued, but we'll talk a bit more about that later on in the video. Now, as we come past this, we have a sapphire crystal. Now, it has got AR coating, but it does pick up an awful lot of reflections, I find. But, it still is sapphire, and it does look quite good. It is pronounced slightly from the case, and there is a chamfered edge on there. Now, coming past this, we have this glorious forged carbon. And it is very, very well done. As you can see, how sharp these edges are. It really has been kind of done nicely. There's, very sharp edges, but it is very soft to touch. There is no sharp points as such across there. Now, as we come around to this side, we have a black PVD crown. The crown isn't screwed in and it goes straight into hand wind, but there is 100 meters of water resistance to this. Now, I must point out, this model is about £300 more expensive than the steel model. So obviously we have the advantages of the forged carbon, but as we turn it around to the back, we are greeted with this movement. Let me just pull this off here. We have got the movement here. Now, that may look like a standard Powermatic 80 movement, but this is the silicon balance wheel model. So you're actually getting a more upgraded movement on this as well. I put this one on the time grapher and it was coming in at, I think it was 0. And one thing I noticed straight away, it was reading it perfectly, correctly. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos regarding Powermatic 80s, they normally don't like being on the time grapher because a lot of them use this plastic escapement. Now, love it or hate it, it's there. This model hasn't got that. So this is a you know, I personally think a better quality Powermatic 80 in this. Now it's got the 25 hours of power reserve, 25 joules. It's got 80 hours of power reserve, so you can put it down, you know, and after a weekend it should still be ticking. I personally don't see why that is necessary, but it is actually there. Now the strap on this, being that it is the forged carbon, they've gone with a funky rubber strap, and it is nicely marked up there, and it is incredibly soft and easy to feel. You know, kind of feels comfortable on the wrist. Now, do I like it? Yes, I do, because it even comes with the hardware on the back and a fixed keeper and a floating keeper. One thing I should mention actually about its forged case, it does have a steel core to it. So, you know, I reckon this is lighter than even the Quartz model from Tissot. It is just a really nice watch. Let me put this on my wrist and we'll have a quick look, and maybe we'll talk, yeah, what I can see is maybe a little bit of a negative when it comes to this watch. Let's zoom out a little bit. Now, quick wrist check. I'm wearing a Rolex SD4K. Been discontinued for many years now, I think about 7 or 8 years. And Bob has got the brand new release from iPod, which is just a funky watch, I have to say. Now, my wrist size is 7¼ inches, which equates in metrics around about 18.5 centimeters, I believe. And there you go, that's it on my wrist. It sits so snug on the wrist. I think it is really good. But, and unfortunately there is a but, one thing I do find very problematic with this actual watch is the legibility. As you can see, the hands just kind of disappear into the dial. I almost feel like the kind of heavily polished Tissot and a PRX could have just been printed on there. I think it would have looked a lot better. If they would have gone with, say, maybe matte hands, that would have looked good, or even white hands and slightly bigger applied markers, or just something which contrasts a bit more. And another thing, while I'm being picky, is the date window. I think it actually cheapens the watch. Being that this is a forged carbon dial, in theory, you could just get rid of that and just look through the forged carbon. I think that would have personally looked a lot better than this little date window they've got there. You know, yeah, even down to having a white second hand on there. It just would have made this a more legible watch, because I like it. I really do. I think it feels really good. It's nice and light. It has that kind of, you know, being that it's a black watch, and being forged carbon, in theory it's black all the way through. So even if you are to ever scratch this, it won't really show up, you know, as much as it would on a actual PVD watch. So, you know, it's just such a shame they couldn't have gone slightly better on that dial. I think more contrast would have looked fantastic and they'd been on to an absolute winner. But saying that, it's a PRX, it's going to sell anyway. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it. But most importantly, stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.